Do you know that my need for God can hinder my desire for Him? To Him, this whole thing that He created man, went so far as to die for him, to redeem him. To Him, this has always been about relationship with us. It's always been about relationship first. So much so that He says, I desire that you prosper and be in good health, but even as your soul prospers in relationship with me. Once upon a time, there was a man named Abraham in whom God had promised a son. And right before he was about to deliver the promise, He spoke to Abraham about cutting a covenant with him. Now, us today don't appreciate what that means. But back in the day when covenants were prevailing and a part of life, the closest thing we have are marriage covenants. But that meant that everything that he had was God's, and everything God had would be his. And so the thought excited Abraham, because he'd been waiting for the promise that God gave him of the son. And so he quickly prepared everything. And the Lord shows up and then makes this announcement to him, saying, I alone am your shield and your exceeding great reward. In other words, he was saying, Abraham, you're doing this not as a means to an end. I will not be considered a means to an end. You're not going to serve me to get what you need, to get your needs met, to get the promises I've given you answered. No, I am your exceeding great reward. I must be the goal. I must be the treasure. I must be that which you seek after and run after. I must be your exceeding great reward as you are mine. I must be first and foremost to you as you are to me. I want you to meet me in the place of relationship. I want you to meet me in the place of love. I want you to meet me in the balm of intimacy. This is what it's about. Abraham, it's not about the promise that I made you. It's not about what I can do for you, but it's about you and I. It's about us. It's what it was always about. But sometimes we forget, so that we allow our need for God to eclipse our desire for Him. And see, once something else, anything else, becomes the goal, once I begin to serve God for a purpose, then that purpose becomes the goal. If I am afflicted with sickness or poverty, if I'm afflicted with depression or failure, and I begin to try to serve Him to be blessed with prosperity, with healing, with deliverance, then that healing, prosperity, and deliverance become the goal or the exceeding great reward. And we break relationship with God. He said, no. Once I'm not the exceeding great reward, once I cease to be your goal, your treasure, that which you seek after, then you're broken relationship with me. And if I'm not your goal, then it's hard for me to be your shield. You see, if you live in my house, I can protect you. But if you live on the outside, it's hard to protect you. See, as long as I'm on friendly lines, I'm safe. But when I cross over into enemy lines, then my safety is at risk. And this is what God is fighting for from you. You see, we are wrestling God to this day, wrestling Him for His blessing, but He's wrestling us for our hearts. And don't you know that once I turn away and I veer off for the blessing, for that which he can do for me, then I do so at the expense of a broken relationship with him, and I fall outside of this jurisdiction of the kingdom of God. And so this is the struggle. He wants me to learn to walk with him and talk with him in relationship. But once I put anything before him as the goal, even that which he's promised me, then I do so at the expense of our covenant, and I break relationship, and in so doing, I invite the curse. It is a great irony